past, people have very much focused on creativity in terms of creating new products, creating new services, creating new content for consumption. But I think there is actually a lot of creativity around business models. I think a business model creativity, business model innovation is also a very important driver for economic growth. Reform is all about creating new models, and this in the recent past, I think with the emergence of the internet, with the emergence of e-commerce, I think a lot of business model creativity has also been driving economic growth. And I think over the next several years, that's probably still going to be a significant driver. The biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity reside in one thing, which is change and the speed of change. I think if we fail to recognize that change is really the only constant, and in the context of today's environment of information, of almost unfettered flow of information, I think change actually the pace of change has accelerated. So if you don't recognize that, it could be a very significant issue because, before you know it, the world has moved away from the one that you recognize and understand. Technology is both an opportunity and a threat. And if you don't think about that, if you're not constantly mindful of technology, you could very well fall behind. Change is really a constant theme, and technology really makes change faster. E-commerce and e-commerce marketplace is a very recent phenomenon. And so, even though when you think about apparel retailing, you would think this is a very traditional business, but a traditional business need to be able to take advantage of what technology offers you to try to grow your business in a way that maybe 10 years ago you wouldn't think about. Service industries have a lot of opportunities for growth. There, I'm talking about financial services. I would say, again, with a lot of accumulated wealth, for example, people have a lot of need for wealth management services. I think the other area for pretty substantial growth in the service sector is healthcare. China's spectacular economic growth over the last 30 years have been a direct result of economic reform initiatives that have been taken over the years. I think as we move forward, as we want to continue to drive rapid growth, we need to have new economic reform initiatives. Chinese economic growth has been not very balanced. Okay, people have been talking about the unbalanced economic growth model, but that lack of balance also creates an opportunity as China tries to rebalance economic growth. In the service sectors, we see a lot of opportunities for growth in service sectors. We still see a lot of opportunity for growth in consumption sectors. China has clearly moved beyond sort of simple labor-intensive manufacturing. I would say, as a percentage, these types of manufacturing will probably go down in overall manufacturing activities in China. But I think actually higher value-added manufacturing, precision engineering, automation are, I think, going to be very important, very significant growth areas. Across the APAC countries, I think we are, obviously, I think most of the countries have emerged from the negative effects of the global financial crisis. But I would say, we're probably still not completely out of that trap. I think a number of countries have had their financial system significantly damaged. I think quantitative easing is good and necessary, but it is like any medicine. If you take it excessively, it can have lasting negative consequences. Within every national economy, you're always going to have interest groups that are opposed to free trade. But I think economists have been able to prove very conclusively that free trade is better, is good for the world as a whole. It's good for national economies as a whole, again, despite potentially negative impact in some particular sectors within the national economies. So therefore, I think it takes effort, it takes courage, it takes wisdom to get things done. But I think if we can do it, I think actually global economic growth will be substantially accelerated.